You should be in your seats. The assigned ones, Isaac. Don't remember assigning you a standing space. Thank you. Okay, so today you have a very brief assignment, but it is a very important adult skill that I want to have you guys start thinking about now. So since we're live, your phone's gonna be zipped up, put away, out of sight. Going live also means that your distracting tabs are closed. So this is okay, so distracting tabs are closed, which also means other schoolwork, other games, other types of stuff. I just need a little bit of this. So today, for kind of focusing still in our direction of personal development, we're going to focus on something that I have just now picked up as an adult and wish that I had exposure to a lot sooner, and that is setting boundaries. Setting boundaries are unfortunately perceived as kind of an aggressive thing to do. They kind of get interpreted as putting up a wall. They kind of get talked about as being something that's could be a red flag, but that's the problem with learning about them now, is that's totally false for what they do. Setting a boundary is a way to explain to other people how to love you, okay? Whether that's a personal, platonic love, whether that is familial love, whether that is just romantic, right? Whatever sort of love you're kind of going for, or you're hoping to have, by setting boundaries, it allows you to set rules and set things that you're comfortable with, uncomfortable with, and protect your own peace in your life, which is something that's in the, we call it the attention economy. Everything's trying to distract you. Everything's trying to get your attention and compete for your attention. By setting boundaries, this is a very healthy way to kind of know where your lines are in the sand. And so because there is a reputation or an expectation in American culture to kind of over deliver, right? The more you do for somebody, typically in our society equates to the more you appreciate them or the more you quote unquote love them. That's true to an extent, but by setting boundaries, you are able to be like, this is not working for me, and this is why. Which is what I have in mind for us today to kind of think about. I say this with kind of a serious tone. It's not a bad thing. I just have to emphasize how much it is not a bad thing to set a boundary, because it allows people to understand how to best get you what you need. And it also allows you to protect your own emotions, your own experiences, and really kind of get the most out of life that you possibly can. So what I have to explain this in a way that's less anecdotal and a little bit more kind of broken down is a couple different links on your thread today, such as first how to understanding what a healthy boundary even is, what it does, and how you can start to set them. So the cool part about a boundary is you get to decide how it happens. It is entirely up to you what your lines are, what your barriers are, what your guards are in your life. So what's something that I've realized as I've kind of matured as a human is that it's very, very easy for people who want to take advantage of your boundaries to cross them just to see how far they can push you, right? Again, a lot of the language around boundaries is kind of hard to talk about, and it's especially kind of hard to teach because A, I'm not a therapist or a psychologist, and B, you kind of realize parts of your life where you go, oh, maybe my boundary wasn't respected, and that person knew that, and it doesn't feel super great sometimes. But these are important because they just define let's read it right here. Defines your expectations for yourselves and others in different kinds of relationships. So what are boundaries? What are we doing here? How to set these? This is the important part. with a boundary, you have to be as clear and as straightforward as possible. It mentions do not raise your voice because this is more designed about how to defend your boundaries. If you were in like an argument or some type of more negative sort of emotional situation, but it also helps to just be exactly clear and straightforward for what you want this boundary to accomplish. Like, for example, for me, let's say that in Mr. Blakeney's personal life, I have friends who are kind of hard to make plans with. I'm sure you guys have already experienced this. You know, another group chat happens and plans keeps trying to get started, but they never get finalized. One of Mr. Blakeney's boundaries is I need, as clear as straightforward as possible, I need a time, I need a place, and I need what we're doing. Those are the three things that I require in order for me to commit to any type of plan. And that's a boundary that I've set because too many times I've gone to make plans with somebody and they either don't know what time they're doing, don't know what the activity is, gonna figure out where it is when it happens, right? It's not enough clarity for me to commit safely to this action, right? Safely meaning in a way that benefits everybody. So my boundary, if we're going as clear, straightforward as possible on step one, is if we're going to do something together, you need to tell me when, where, and why, or what we're doing. If I don't have those three things, I can't commit to it. So just as clear, straightforward as possible. The next step on that is the stating your need or the request that you're asking directly in the terms of what you'd like rather than what you don't want or don't like. So my experience with this is when I was in high school and faced with this similar problem, and we are live, so your phone should be away, especially where I can see it. Thank you. Where I experienced this when I was at your guys' age, which was so long ago, was instead of me standing up for my thoughts of I need this information, it was more like I don't want to upset people, you know, I want to keep these friends. It's too many things avoiding the main question of what I actually needed or requesting directly, okay? So something that you guys might experience already, and something something that I go through is like not wanting to upset another person, not wanting to throw off the social kind of balance or relationship that you have in the relationships you participate in. And these can be with teachers, parents, bosses, your friends, the people you're interested in, the people you are dating or have dated, right? There's lots of ways that relationships happen in our modern society. So instead of just kind of dancing around what you actually want and kind of translating it into ways that might be a little bit easier to digest, by setting a boundary, you want to avoid that. You want to be as clear as possible with what you actually want out of this rule that you're setting for relationships with other people. And I hope this is making sense so far. Then the final part, this is the most the worst part of setting a boundary, is it is super uncomfortable. It feels very, very strange if you've not practiced this and given yourself the time to be patient and be forgiving with yourself and with the people around you. It is going to be really uncomfortable to stand up for what you need. Again, like I mentioned, because it is very easy in our culture and society for people to overgive or pour from an empty cup is maybe an expression you've heard. You know, burnout, there's a lot that happens. And by setting a rule saying, I'm not doing this, you're going against the culture that has raised you. And it's uncomfortable. It's by design. It's on purpose. So by accepting that discomfort, by understanding that that's how you grow, this is where you can start to really shape your life into the direction that you want it to go. Okay? And if you're hearing me talk and you're realizing that, oh, maybe I could set better boundaries, or maybe I've had boundaries crossed before, maybe you've heard that kind of term before, that is okay. That is part of this process. It doesn't make you any less of a person. It doesn't make you any less experienced. It doesn't make you worth any less love if a boundary's been crossed. But now you have some words that could define it, some words that you could experience with it that we can use moving forward. Okay? So there's a lot more information in these links, but those are the big things that I want you to take away from them. That is understanding how they work. The next step of a boundary is maintaining it. How do you stay consistent with this line in your sand that you don't want to cross? You want to feel enabled enough to keep this rule happening in your relationships. And that's what this one kind of goes over, where boundaries, the more boundaries you set, the more fulfilling your relationships will actually become. That's not to say you should totally isolate yourself or have like an interview for your friends or for your potential lovers, for people in your life that they have to pass, quote unquote, in order to be in your life. But by setting boundaries, you're going to attract people who respect those boundaries, or work better with people who respect those boundaries, and have a more fulfilling life as a result of it. So the mutual respect part is the thing that you're looking for. This might not make, anyway, just kidding. So there's a walkthrough of how to analyze your boundaries. There's a lot of information on here that you should probably listen to. I don't talk for my health. Hey, shush. Thank you. There's also, if what I'm saying is making no sense, this is a great video that I found walking you through the boundary setting process, because that is what I want you to do today for points. Similar to the other things, it's graded based on completion. However, the more effort you put into the thing, the more effort you'll get out of the thing. And setting and maintaining boundaries is a lifelong activity. You can't just set one and forget it, not worry about it until it happens again. This is something that you'll continuously be able to practice throughout your adult life. So if what I'm saying is making no sense or it's uncomfortable to hear, you can always watch this video to walk through it in a similar fashion, to actually hear from a professional in the mental health sphere explain it in a different way. What I'm asking of you guys today, besides just kind of take my advice, is kind of an advice sort of day today, is complete this assignment where you'll set one boundary for your work or your school life and one boundary for your personal or your social life. And if you're feeling still really uncomfortable or confused about what a boundary actually entails, you can answer these 4 questions right here, and that will guide you through the process of setting a boundary. You just want to make it relevant to your work or your school life or your personal or your social life. So for example, if I were to set a boundary for my social life, I would first ask in the simplest terms, what am I uncomfortable with? In Mr. Blakeney's example, that's my time being disrespected. So that's question number 1, time being disrespected. In the simplest terms, what do I need? Thank you. I need people to understand that my time is valuable and that I want to enjoy that time with them, but I need them to respect that time in order to get there, is question number 2. Question number three, how would you communicate this boundary when people get close to it? This is more an example. For question number 3, I would say when people don't make plans in the best possible way, I would mention that I need more information before I commit, or I need to remind them that, this is something that I care about and I want us both to benefit from this. And then the 4th one is one that kind of comes with experience. You just want to answer it the best you can. When people cross this boundary, if we stick with Mr. Blakeney's example of my time being disrespected in like a friendship scenario, how can you respond? For my example, would be something like, hey, I didn't appreciate when you made plans and bailed, or without communicating. You can bail, just tell me first, right? Or, hey, when you did this, it made me feel this. And then you can explain what the boundary is to you. This is something that I could talk about plenty of times. This is something that we're going to need a few more visits on. We can't just do this in one session, but it is something that I hope is making sense and that I want you guys to experience the process of, because I promise you, it will improve your life. I just now started setting boundaries as someone who is 24, and it's made huge differences. It feels uncomfortable. It is kind of yucky, but it is an important thing that you should do to protect your mental health and protect your well-being. So what I want you guys to do today is to set one boundary for your work life or your school life, and then one boundary for your personal or your social life. The last thing I will say here is that these are specific to you. This is what works for you. Okay? What's the terms that you put it in, the language that you communicate it in, is entirely your choice because it's your boundary. And you get to maintain it or enforce it or communicate it however you see fit. I'm just giving you examples of how I do it as someone who's had a little bit more life than you guys have, which is not a flex. Life is hard, but you can make it fun. Does this make sense? This is something we'll revisit. I just want to get you guys introduced today, but assignment PD.4 boundaries is due tomorrow at midnight so that I can see you guys are practicing this process and protecting your peace, because it's scary out there. You want to do the best that you can to make sure things are okay. And then setting and managing healthy boundaries are the same two links from the thread for today, so that you can get them in a faster spot from PD.4. Sound good? I can help you guys with specifics. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's a weird feeling if it's new, if you've never done it before. It's kind of weird, but it will, I promise you, it will not make your life worse. Makes it better. Okay, thank you guys for listening. I'll let you work on this for the remainder of the period. You can choose to work on it at home if you don't want to face it now, but it is due by tomorrow at midnight. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it very much.